back, Flyers Nitty Gritty fans, to Getting Gritty with It with your host, Yariv, Wolok, my partner in crime, Vasili, Gianarakos, back for another episode of Vasili. What's up, brother? How you doing?
I'm doing good, Yariv. I mean, it's official. 2022 or 2021-2022 season is officially over. Colorado Avalanche are your Stanley Cup champions.
Yep.
I mean, personally, for me, probably one of the best playoffs we've seen in the last 5, 6, 7 seasons around that frame.
Yeah.
Very competitive. Probably one of the best finals in terms of talent on talent teams.
Yep.
So I'm just excited. Great final. Playoffs are over. Now we're fully into draft, free agency. What are the Flyers going to do mode? So it's an exciting time. How about you, buddy? How's it been on your end?
Yeah, normal busy stuff, dude. It's been awesome to watch the playoffs. I totally agree with you. The playoffs were amazing, and it was awesome to watch Colorado win. Even though I gotta say, part of me wanted to see Tampa Bay, make history.
I wouldn't have minded. I saw that it was 2-1 in the third. I'm like, give me at least overtime, and then if the Avs win in OT, whatever. But
yeah, but it is kind of like it signifies kind of where I guess the league is right now. We're trending towards the Colorado Avalanche, time period, where at the very least they're going to be a cup contender for the next 3 years. That one's a guarantee.
Yeah.
I would say at least 2 years, right? Barring something going crazy. We can make the case that it could be longer, obviously. Yeah. I'm just making a safe analysis here. And that was really cool to see, man. It makes you guilty, or feel jealous, but it makes you realize that the game has come a long way.
For sure.
In comparison to where we were even the last lockout, just the amount of talent available, the amount of you look at next year's draft and what we already have in the league, and you're just God damn, who's the best player in the NHL?
It's all based around speed. If you look at Colorado and the way they kind of built their team, it's all around speed, getting at the puck quick, tenacity, which that wasn't always the model for
Can I ask you this though?
Sure.
Do you think that they were always just every single generation that people said, whoa, look how fast these guys are?
Yeah. You think maybe it's just the athlete that just progressively becomes more
every generation, the next generation that comes in is faster than the last.
Exactly. I think that's a part of it for sure. But.
Yeah. And maybe it's just that big of a jump now from the people who are kind of taking the retrospectives where they're looking back at even the early 2000s and you look at now. And holy
how
shit.
Much speed has been added to the game.
Shit. Dude, go back and watch a game from the 2000 era and the amount of chaos that you see, the hooking, the bodies,
the clutch and grab on the rush is definitely not there.
So different, dude.
Yeah. It's almost like a different sport in a sense.
Yeah. And I feel what the Colorado Avalanche are right now is the pinnacle of a great NHL team. And it was Tampa for obviously the past few years. You could still make the case that they
still are a great team. I mean,
yeah, right. But it's just you can make the case that healthy Tampa, you know what I mean? They maybe would have put up a better fight against
Colorado.
I'll agree. Though Colorado's legit. I mean, they were the favorites.
Can't take anything.
I thought they were going to win in 7.
Yeah, 6. I thought 7 as well. And I mean, it just speaks to the fact they never trailed in one series.
They're a great
this
team,
whole playoff, so that just shows it.
And honestly, I'm sorry, I got to cut you off. I have to eat a little bit of crow here on Cale on McCarr. Okay.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I always said he was a great player. And I was just he's not, I don't think he's the best defenseman in the NHL, Hedman. There's no denial after.
No.
Look, I never denied that he was one of the best in the league. I'm just saying, was there a better top defense after what you saw him do this year?
This proves it.
I can't. I'd be an asshole to say anything but that.
Yeah.
The type of season that he had, it's head turning. It's what Connor McDavid is doing on offense, but on D.
Pretty
and you
much.
could say equally as impressive, if not in some ways more. He already won a Stanley Cup. He has all these trophies. He just got in the fucking league. How good is this kid?
He's really good.
Yeah, outside of the fact that we could have got him and everybody should be crying, how good is this fucking kid? His team is amazing. Let's remember that. McDavid's team is not amazing, right? So there is to remember that, but he is
very young defenseman, and he's putting up numbers that are insane, but also holding his own against playing against top players like Kucherov, Stamkos. All those top minutes.
You saw the quote, right? The Landeskog quote, right? How do you win it? What do you recommend that people do to win a Stanley Cup? Find yourself Cale McCarr.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
It just speaks for itself, really, right there.
Totally agree. But the reason they can say that is that they had a great team. He put them into that. This is what I say about the Flyers right now. Like, if the Flyers were a good team and Johnny Gaudreau is out there, and I'm still open to bringing him in. Do not get me wrong. We'll talk about him. But and a player like that is out there, and you're a good team, that's the investment you want to make. You're like, fuck, we got something good here. Let's add a Panarin, right? Like what New York did.
Yeah,
let's add that elite guy to take us, boom, to the edge. And
because it adds, not there. You know what it does when you add a player like
Florida
that
in the first place?
Yeah, exactly. But what it does is it adds another element to your team that people have to be wary of and be, worried about, right? Exactly, like look at how good Valerian Ishkuchkin was and how integral he was to their run. Like without him, or do they make it that far? You had some clutch moments. I don't know. So that's what I mean. Like you got to have everybody contributing at every position, which the Avs did have. So congrats to them. And also shout out to NAK for denting the cup. I mean, I'll be honest with you, former Flyers, pretty amazing.
Maybe I'm wrong about this, but I think it was already kind of dented.
It might have been. I don't know.
Because I remember looking at it prior to him dropping it, like right in the beginning, and being like, is that a dent? But from what I heard, I think Russ Cohen said this. I don't remember the name of the guy who takes care of Phil something. Anyway, he
have like a designated handler. Yeah,
I think his name is Phil something. I don't know. Russ Cohen. I've been listening to him on this one. Go to him on Locked On Flyers for it. But they were talking about how it's already been dented before.
Oh yeah. There's been apparently somebody. I think it was a couple wins ago. It might have been Tampa on the first cup when they dented like the top of the cup.
Yeah,
which is kind of nuts. Like the bottom, okay, that's not as bad because you can't really see. But dude, imagine being a player and denting the fucking Stanley Cup. I would feel like a big ass.
Yeah, dude. You know what? All that I would literally be like, the hell that this thing has been through.
That's true. It's probably the least.
Dude, it's fine. They've had to read it. Come on, let's be honest, dude. These guys are taking it around and just be like, oh, this is a lovely, beautiful thing. Having said that, I did have a moment where I had a moment where I was like, I am truly jealous of a human being. And it was, you might have seen this. Gabriel Landeskog was tagged his daughter. And he's walking up to his adorable little daughter with a Stanley Cup. He's surrounded by his family and all these people loves him. And he's captain of this fucking incredible team. And he's grabbing the Stanley Cup and his little daughter just drinking out of it. And he's just like,
I know, it's hilarious.
He has me thinking this is one of the greatest moments of my life.
I saw that video.
That's the greatest thing, and then this is the
second, or probably the best, to be honest.
Yeah,
I saw that video. Yeah, I saw that video of his daughter drinking out of the cup, and I was just thinking to myself, she probably doesn't even realize the magnitude of how amazing this is right now. She's probably this is sick. In 20
watch that
years.
video later in life. She's like, "Holy shit, I'm drinking out of Stanley Cup."
Exactly, man.
Yeah,
kind of crazy.
Fuck. Yeah, good for them. Honestly, congratulations to them. They are an awesome team. They're easy team to root for. Yeah, they're an easy team to root for. Their players are really likable. Even Nazem Kadri. Oh my god, can we need to talk about what Nazem Kadri said? Yeah. I gotta say, man, it makes me want him more. I'm not saying we have to overpay for.
What did he say to everybody who thought I was a liability? Like there
in the playoffs, kiss my ass.
Oh, kiss my ass.
And that code went right to the Toronto Maple Leafs. We all know it. And look, I don't know if I've been recorded about this. I talked to Chris Mayer about this a lot. Okay. When there were rumors to trade Ghost to Toronto for Kadri, I was like, okay, that trade I was open to.
Yeah, okay? I would have been open to that.
I would have been open to that. I was like, at the time, I was
do you remember the rumors a long time ago when Richards was getting traded? It was like Richards to Toronto for Kadri plus. You remember that?
Oh man, that
was a while. I know.
Well, yeah. Well, Kadri was a really good draft pick at the time. Again, I always liked him, but the way that and I remember listening to Dangle's podcast, Steve Dangle's podcast. I like them, but the way they get so butthurt that he would get suspended, and I'm just like, maybe it's because I'm a Flyer, dude. Maybe it's because I grew up a Flyer. I'm like, dude, what are you guys bitching about? Like this guy plays heart and soul, hard as shit. He's definitely dirty. We loved other dirty players. Chris Pronger's a dirty player. It's not like we were short on our dirty.
It's like a fun dirty,
Yeah. Well, but he like, what are you guys upset about? Like he's a great player.
I mean,
and they got rid of him, and he still played the same way, and it didn't fucking matter. Why? No. Because people make up bullshit about these players is what I'm trying to say. They make up, they see things from their perspective that they don't like, and then they make it and conflate into a problem. And I would say even the Maple Leafs fell to that. And I understand why. Oh, it wasn't available for all this stuff. Yeah, but like injuries also
Stuff happens.
This is a guy who's giving it to you. He's
but it's a physical, but it's also a physical sport. Like, would you rather him not finish a check and play soft and then you lose the series that way, or would you rather the guy give his 100% all and then if he walks the line, walks the edge a bit, that's the risk you're taking?
As long as he brings it in the other elements of the game, completely acceptable for the team. As not acceptable to hurt players, but as far as being like, this is an asset I can use to win a Stanley Cup, yes.
And that just proves it, like Colorado.
I would I would continue to work with the player. Like, I would be like, yo, you really, like,
you got to pick your spots better.
I love your game. Like, you don't get it.
I think it's more,
and I'm sure they had that conversation with him over and over again.
With Kadri, I think it's more of an evaluation of just like him as a player probably needed to pick his spots better. And I think he probably realized that himself. And then as you see, like with Colorado,
I think he's a little bit ahead of case.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Like, you got to understand, like, you can't let the anger take over and just go after a guy.
Dude, I wouldn't be surprised. Well, I won't be surprised if he gets suspended next year.
No, yeah.
I would not be surprised at all.
That wouldn't surprise me at all.
With a player like him.
He's that type of player, walks the edge, walks the line. But you know what? For somebody who lives in Toronto, grew up in Toronto, like, just the way the Toronto media treated him, not probably the best way to go about it. But also, I would just say that a lot of Toronto media and just people that like the Leafs in general were just butthurt about the fact that they got out of the first round.
Let me ask you this, dude. Let me ask you this. Scott Hartnell had a reputation like that. Not even that bad.
I love Scotty Hartnell.
Yeah. Matt Cook had a horrible reputation. This guy stayed on a Stanley Cup winning team. Like, how many of these players have existed? Claude Lemieux.
Oh, yeah.
Like, what are we talking about, dude? You guys had one of those players.
Ryan Reeves on St. Louis.
Yeah, you had one of them. You had one of them, and you're like, no.
But the thing is, though, you had him.
I don't fit, dude. I don't fit this generation.
No, I agree. You had him on the team, but the thing is with Kadri, as compared to some of those guys you mentioned, is he was even more of like a scorer and actually contributor on the ice versus some of those guys that.
That's my point. You had one of the best agitating forwards of all
that can also score. Exactly.
Like, you had another, I think Doug Gilmour was a little bit like that. Like, there have been players throughout history who have brought this element to a team and also contributed on the ice. They are what they are.
I'd say a Richards is even a similar mold to Kadri.
Yes. And Richard, yes, dude. Remember when he ended fucking Weiss's career almost? Like, he took
David Booth as well.
David Booth, sorry. No, was it Stephen Weiss or did he do both? No, it was David Booth.
Oh, it was Booth? Okay. You're right.
It was Booth.
Florida.
Yeah, Weiss had injury issues, but David Booth was one. He knocked him out. It's a dirty hit, especially by today's standards. And look, the reality is like, you had one of those players and you wimped out on it and you lost the trade.
Pretty much, because Tyson Barrie did not contribute to the Leafs like Kadri contributed to Colorado in any facet.
Well, they could have had Kadri at what? I don't even know how much he makes. $5 million.
I think he makes like 5.25 or something.
$5 million. They have Tavares, who's an amazing player. I'm not saying they shouldn't have Tavares, but they have Tavares for $11 million. They already had a really competent center
arguably, yeah. Would like that have been better value to just hold on to Kadri? Maybe.
I mean, if they didn't, I would argue if they didn't make that trade for Tavares, they might have a deep enough team to be like dominant in the league.
Yeah, my thing with Tavares signing is just like you're giving a guy.
I don't blame them.
I don't blame them because he was a free agent. He wanted to come home.
I just said it before that, right? You're already a really good team. Let me add that superstar player.
Yeah, exactly.
Take us to the next level.
I just think they didn't see that he was gonna not like he's dropped off tremendously or anything, but he's not as dynamic and as impactful as he used to be. Like when he was with the Islanders, but he also was in his prime when he was with the Islanders.
There's nothing wrong with it. I'm just saying, like, if you have 11 million off the cap, you compound that into two really good players, right? And then you have Kadri.
Oh damn, Kadri's cap hit's fucking crazy. 4.5 million.
Yeah, it's low.
That's that's disgusting.
It's low, dude.
For what he's bringing to the table, man.
That's why I remember I wanted the trade for Ghost because I was like,
it would match, right? Because Ghost was making 4.5.
That's why, that one I actually thought was a realistic. Maybe Toronto didn't want it. Yeah, I imagine they probably did because they got Tyson Barrie for
similar
They
players.
got a very similar return. I think we're the ones that backed out. I don't know why. Maybe they backed out. Maybe the deal was bigger. Maybe the offer was bigger in the end.
Was it still Hextall?
Maybe Barry was considered better than Ghost. It's possible too.
Was Fletcher in at that point, or was it Hextall?
It was Hextall.
Okay, yeah. That doesn't surprise me.
That makes more sense, actually.
Yeah, it doesn't really surprise me.
He's like, I want him, but I don't trade anybody.
I don't. Yeah, exactly. If that was a Fletcher, like if he was around, I think he would have made that move.
I'll be honest with you. I'm still in probably the minority with the Ghost thing, where I know people now are like jumping on his stats and all that. I still, my attitude has not changed. If I have any fucking coaches that start complaining to me about the players on the team, I do not want you to coach on this team at all from day one.
Work with what you have.
That's it. That's all you got. And that's all you're ever going to get. But what I need you to do is that I'm going to make your team better. Like if I'm general manager, I'm going to say, look, I'm going to make your team better. There is a plan here.
Yeah.
But I need you to make sure that you get the most out of every player on the team. Why? Because not only do I need them to play as better as they can, as best as they can, the team, but also if I'm going to make trades, I need the team to play as well as they can, and each individual asset that I trade
up the value.
Right. I need them to at least maintain their value. So that's also your job as a coach, is to make sure that those players continue to do that. And if I have a coach that says, I hate when people have been saying that lately, like, well, Tortorella might not like this guy. He might not like, too fucking bad. That's what you walked into.
But also Tortorella
be like, this isn't for me. You walked in here to be the head coach of this hockey team.
But also, like Tortorella, I mean, he brought up an interesting point that he said conflict is good for a locker room, and it breeds, finding solutions together as a team. And I feel even for him,
confrontation.
Exactly. He would probably embrace the fact that, hey, if there's some players that aren't really, that ascribe to his style of coaching, that's confrontation that is good for him as well, because maybe there's something he can learn on their end.
That's why you have to okay, let's go to his press conference for a second.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I love this show has no structure, and I love that. And shout out to Jim Stakes, Fourth and South. Let's go to his press conference for a minute. Like he talked about how excited he is about Kevin Hayes, right? About how excited he is to acknowledge Kevin Hayes and
work with him,
and work with him tight. Why? Because he recognizes, look, I'm looking for pain point. This is a project to him. Like I think that's what's happening. This is a project. He's going okay.
He seems intrigued. Like there's a lot that he can get out of these guys.
Silky winning center, right?
Yeah. Another defensive center who's huge.
Who's 6'5".
Yeah.
Right? Then you have Scott Lawton, another defensive center.
And to be fair, I mean, with Kevin Hayes, there is times where he's trying out there, but there's times if you watch him and you've never watched Kevin Hayes before, you'll look at him and say, kind of looks like he's gliding a little bit out there, which, I mean, that has to do with his size for sure. But I think Torch will push him to be like, we want more. We know there's more that you can give us. And I think at first it could be a bit of, a clash of heads, but eventually it'll end up being a good thing.
Let me ask you something. Do you think Kevin Hayes believes that he is a star player?
I would say probably yes in his eyes.
Really? Okay.
I'd say
I would guess no.
I'd say yeah, because I think if you're a hockey player at the professional level and you're getting paid to his extent, he probably in his mind is like, yeah, I'm a damn good fucking player, but
good star player, like that he should be in the All-Star game.
Oh, that's what you mean by a star?
Yeah. Okay. Do you think not as he? I know he thinks he's a leader on this team, 100%. Without a doubt. He'd be crazy. You could be a mediocre player and be a leader on this team, but still.
No, yeah, that's pretty true. I mean, I still lean to the fact that he probably believes that he's a star player. Yeah, I could see it. You
think he thinks he's an all-star? Has he ever been an all-star?
No, I don't think he's ever been an all-star.
Yeah, that's what I would say to Tortorella. If I was Tortorella, I'd be like, so how have you never been an all-star?
That's a good button to push, to be honest.
I would immediately be like, I don't get it.
Yeah.
What excuse do you have? I would say shit to him like that.
I'm sure that's going to be brought up behind closed doors and a lot more of it. So let's be real.
But this is kind of what I've been I want somebody to be like, hey, I want someone to remind these guys that they don't need to listen to us. We're not helpful.
No.
All you fans out there, and some of you are and are trying with just the love and encouragement. We are too. We're known as the positive ones, obviously. And I get that, but we're not really helping right now. We need an us for remember when the the Eagles won the Super Bowl, like it was them versus the world. Nobody believed in us, including the fans. They did not really believe in the team. Everybody bought in.
Oh yeah, I mean this fan base.
There was a wave.
This fan base, like morality wise, they're totally at the bottom. Like I would say, the fans are not buying in.
Justifiably, that's what I'm saying. I'm not blaming anybody, but we're not helping. Like it's all justified. Everybody's anger is completely justified.
Well, hypothetically,
fucking ridiculous.
If you were a player and went on to Flyers Twitter, hypothetically, which likely probably doesn't happen often because I'm sure a lot of players steer clear of.
I think they used to. I think now they're advised to stay off.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So that's what I mean.
It's not good for your mental health.
No, that's what I'm saying. So like, imagine you were Travis Konecny and you went on Twitter and saw the whole. Twitter. No, he definitely doesn't. But I'm saying hypothetically, he would go on and you'd see the whole fan base trashing him, saying that he needs to get traded. That's probably not good for you, like as you said, mental health wise whatsoever.
As I said, we're not helping.
Yeah, so that
fans are not helping.
And that's what I mean.
Though, having said that, I don't really think it's our job to help.
No, probably
I'll make that very clear. But the reason I say that is that I think we need somebody who would be like us versus the world. I've said this past 2 episodes.
Tortorella brings that mindset as long as everybody buys into what
he is. That he encompasses us versus the world.
Well, pretty much during his press conference, he said, like, I'm not going to let you guys spin shit against me or do this or that.
You think he's going to? Okay. Well, the first time he does that to defend a player in front of the media, how do you think that's going to go over in the locker room?
Oh, amazing.
Don't worry about what we're doing tonight.
Yeah.
We're fine. Exactly. You know, like, sorry, I'm probably yelling at the mic. But that, I could totally see him doing that type of shit.
Oh, of course. Like, a player in a team loves a coach who sticks up for them. Yeah, but also, there's a reciprocating factor that, you know, if your coach is going to do that for you, you got to buy into what he's asking from you as well. It's a two-way street, and that's what he was preaching. He said it's going to be a two-way street. It's going to be constant communication, constant conversation with the players. And it's going to be a process at first, but through that process, everybody will grow to become better.
Well, I will say this. One of the things I think we're lucky about too is I think the right thing for Torts in this group is why I think he would want to coach his team right now too, is that there are no real like the best players on this team do not have big egos.
That's true.
Like, because by far the best player on the team right now is Sean Couturier.
Yeah, right? And he's a very humble guy.
He is not a big ego player. He actually took we know he took less money.
Yeah,
he stayed here, always under the radar. You like the flashiest player we probably have is Kevin Hayes.
Probably in terms of like personality.
Yeah, we don't really have many of that. People I know can jump on Provorov. I think that's ridiculous. I think his reputation.
But I don't think he's really. I wouldn't say he's really a big personality. He's kind of struck me as more of a quiet dude.
Quiet dude, right? Who usually the media never really focused on at all, and works his ass off.
Yeah, exactly. Which I think Tortorella and him will mesh. That's because he loves a workhorse, Torts. So
here's the one thing is that we know that Torts is going to come in with the thing of like, oh, I have to get Provorov to be a true number one defenseman.
That too, yeah. So
he's going to push him. I think that's why a lot of people are nervous about that because they're like, oh, if the media can't even ask him.
You got to understand.
But he works his ass off. That's
but you got to understand. That's what people don't understand. You got to understand what pushing means. Like pushing in practice for Provorov would be, okay, extra reps, extra this. You obviously wants to probably see more of a leadership factor, but all that like extra practice stuff, like I want you to do this, do that, like in terms of the game and the on ice practice and just conditioning, like he's likely going to come in the most conditioned player in camp. I'm pretty sure he does every year.
You know what would be the coolest fucking scenario? And I agreed with everything you just said. You know what would be the coolest scenario?
What?
Coming out of camp, Ivan Provorov becomes captain of the Philadelphia Flyers, and like nobody expects it. It would be fucking hilarious.
Oh yeah.
Can you imagine how many fans would be like?
What? The whole media is going to be
great.
Like,
now it's us versus them. Great. Now our team hates us. It's like, but maybe we need some. We needed us versus them.
I mean, personally, I don't see it being Provi, but that would be
it's gonna. I think honestly, the likelihood. I don't think. Look, he wears an A.
Yeah,
so I don't think he's that far away from.
No.
He's not one of the true vets on the team. Where
I personally think it's either it's Couturier or Atkinson. Probably.
Yeah, I think so too. Or Hayes.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think it's Coots.
I think it's probably Coots, though. You're probably right.
I think unless they bring in like a big name guy that's like, a big name veteran, like if Joe Pavelski comes here and they're like, give it to him for a year,
that actually makes sense, to be honest.
Like I could see that,
like kind of like a Jason Smith situation.
Well, I think the reality is, is that Sean Couturier is the engine of the Flyers.
Well,
he pretty much was prior to getting injured with him and Giroux. Now he's the remaining guy. He works his he represents how we want to play as a team, which is incredibly difficult to play against in all three zones.
Yep.
Keep your fucking mouth shut and play hockey. And that's what Sean Couturier does.
Though, I mean, there's been a lot of talk that for some reason Couturier isn't, talented enough to help the team, or the team needs more talent, which, I mean, I do agree. You need to add more talent, but they're not devoid of talent. And
yes.
That's to show, like, Couturier, sure. I mean, he was injured last season, so it's hard to gauge where he's at and where his game's at. You haven't seen a lot of him, but before he sustained that injury, he's almost a point per game pace. And then, a season before that, he's removed from a Selke trophy. So there's the talents there. It's just like the fact that you're going to question a player that, has shown time and time again over the last 6-7 seasons that he's going to produce close to a point a game and score 30 goals a season is kind of hilarious.
What do you think this team is missing, like, the most of? Like, you just say one element. You only pick one. No, you can't say multiple things.
What do you mean by that? Like,
top thing, you can add one type of dynamic. Let's say top 4, top 6 dynamic to this team. You can only pick one. What would you do? Drafts, right? You can, equally. They'd be equally as good. Speed and what? Like
speed and skill.
So I guess the options would be like goal scoring, puck possession,
speed and puck possession.
So exactly. It's not goal scoring.
No.
Right.
I wouldn't say. So personally, I wouldn't say the Flyers lacked goal scoring.
Thank you.
What I would say that they lacked is creating scoring chances. When they had their chances, they could score. But the fact is that they wouldn't create a lot of those chances.
They could barely get into the zone.
Yeah, exactly. But when
what's a shooter going to help them?
Pretty much. Like, Cam Atkinson's great, but if I didn't say the puck to shoot.
Well, I didn't say could we use another goal scorer? Fuck yeah, we could. What am I, an asshole?
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, what is our biggest deficit? And it's play driving, particularly down the middle, especially without Sean Couturier there. Like, we cannot. Yeah, exactly. And the fact that Kevin Hayes, I think he had 22 points his last 28 games of the season. That also can be ignored somewhat, but it really can't be, because this team was a shadow of what it actually is.
Pretty much. And then I mentioned speed in there just because if you look at the new NHL, the faster you are, the easier it is to, burn your opponent and kind of, catch them on the counter rush. And I think the Flyers have a lot of younger guys where if they can get faster, they'll create more chances for themselves in terms of scoring opportunities. I just think that's where the game's headed. The more speedy you are, better chances you're going to have to create scoring opportunities. Just look at the Avs. So
yeah, dude. There's no structure to today's show, but I just want to get into these DeBrincat rumors because they're not really rumors. And the one thing I will say is I heard when the rumors came out on the internet, it wasn't necessarily said like, oh, this is what I think there's Pierre LeBrun also has a rumor came out where I think he said it was DeBrincat. What they want, again, this is not what the Flyers are offering. What they want is a top young player, a top prospect, and a top pick.
I personally don't think the Flyers are in a position to do that. But I also think they know that it probably wouldn't be a smart move for them to be.
I also can't say that an undersized goal scorer is what I want to spend 3 top assets on.
Yeah, well, yeah, because like hypothetically, if you're looking at the Flyers and the package they're going to have to give, it's probably going to be like Konechny, number 5 overall, and Cam York. Like, why would I want to trade that when my team already isn't very good?
Yeah,
I'm trading. Almost basically probably lock for like a 60-point player a year in Konechny, potentially more. Then you're trading probably your best defense prospect, and then probably your best
defense prospect.
Your best defense prospect. And then you're trading probably your best prospect that you're going to add to your pool that will become the top prospect of your pool.
Of your system. Yeah.
Yeah. So it just doesn't make a lot of sense. You're trading your 2 top prospects effectively,
right,
and then a guy who scores like 60 points a year.
And you're also not really in a position to do this.
And then you're getting a guy that puts up 80 points a year.
Who's going to demand a lot of money.
Well, his neck. So basically how it works contract-wise, if people don't understand, is he's going to be an RFA in 2 seasons if they were to acquire him. That qualifying offer is $9.9 million. So that means they have to pay him $9.9 million. It's guaranteed. He has to make that. Is he a $9.9 million player? For a winger, He scored
He's
40
around
goals
there.
this year. He's
You
close.
can say between
But-
7.5 and 9. Yeah.
But for this roster, do they need to allocate 9.9 million to the wing right now when that's their biggest position?
Well,
That they could be like trading and subtracting from. They need really to put that money into the center position.
well, I thought that's why we traded Cam Atkinson, because we got a goal scorer.
Yeah.
Why wasn't he a goal scorer here? I don't get it. Because the team sucks.
Well, I mean, he's
Not going to score goals
He
here.
scored what, 25 goals on a shit team.
Okay, well, all right. Well, fucking DeBrincat will come here and score 30 goals.
Exactly.
And people will be like, why the hell don't we have a 40 goal scorer? We paid this guy to be
You know
the
what?
team sucks.
You know what's
Our
crazy?
team was good. He would
is
score 40
that-
goals.
And that people don't understand. And I mean, not to take anything away from DeBrincat, because he's obviously the ones putting the puck.
He's a
in the
great
back.
young player.
He's putting the puck in the back of the net. But hey, man, you got to factor in, like, when you're playing with Patrick Kane every year, he sees stuff on the ice that, like,
he's
other
also
players-
5'8" and a one-dimensional offensive player, which again, highly valued, just not enough to give up that much.
Yeah, but he's playing with Kane too, so like I said, not to take away from DeBrincat and the fact he's scoring these goals, but there's nobody on the Flyers that can set you up like Patrick Kane's going to be setting you up for goals. And another point, Kane, I think, had 23 primary assists on his 40 goals. So on 23 of them, he had the primary assists. So that factors in big time.
I think if Chicago really is going to plan to move him, they're not going to get
what they
close
think
to what we're talking about. But I do think they're going to get a nice haul for him. Like,
they'll probably get a really good draft pick in this draft, and probably a good player.
I can see like a TK, the first for 2024, one of them, whichever one is higher. You know what I mean? I could see them getting maybe even a mid first round pick. And then like probably a B level prospect, not a guy like York.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, there's going to be like I don't think the Flyers are going to pay the price, and I think they realize they're not at the point like in their trajectory that it would make sense for them to actually pay that much, even though he's a great player.
Yeah.
Though there's probably another team out there that's in contention that thinks, you know what, we add him and we're there, we're over the top. Like, so we'll see.
But it's also like these like, oh, let's overpay to get these players. Like, it so rarely works out. Like, even in the best case scenario, like the Eric Lindros scenario, where the Flyers went all out and got this quite franchise caliber player, Connor McDavid impact. It worked out for the team we traded with. They won a championship, not Quebec, but Colorado did with those assets that we traded.
I mean, you could argue that the Flyers, let's say if they would have kept Forsberg instead, might have just been in just as good shape. So it's hard. It's hard in hindsight, though.
Look, again, I'm not saying it was even the wrong move. I'm just saying that there isn't like this like one answer that
you got to swing for the fences and get that, big name and make the big trade. It's not always a recipe for success.
Can we transition to the draft here real quick? Like,
yeah, sure.
Okay, so like the more I don't know who to fucking take in the draft. I really don't. And we have several topics to talk about here from the draft, but and the more I think about it, I'm like, even if I think I know, okay,
we probably don't know shit.
No. Like, it's not even that. Like, even if I can look at and spend, I don't have time to scout. I have a full-time job to do this on the side. Like.
But I try to watch.
But most people who are talking to us are not scouting, okay? And even scouting is very difficult, right? It's not easy, okay? I can observe,
especially to do it in person too.
Yeah, but like I can observe a player and be like, this player is going to be legit, right? I can do that. I can't observe all of them, right? I can't have a great in depth of all.
And then compare them all together and be like, these are the best ones versus the ones that aren't.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's a methodology to do that well and whatnot. But the one thing I recognize about all these drafts is like, we just need to make sure we don't fuck up this draft. But I have no idea who's going to be the best player. Like, for instance, like I wanted the Flyers to draft Provorov, and I was like, my backup was Matthew Barzal. I was like, if Provorov is gone and New Jersey takes him at 6, I was like, I want Matthew Barzal. And I remember thinking that. And look, I'm right with both picks. People can complain about this. I don't really care. Right with both players, right? Top defenseman, top forward, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
That's what. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, the Flyers just have to do that. Where if you don't get the best player, at least grab one of the best players.
Yeah, your backup plan also has to be on the same, vicinity in terms of talent.
Right. We just can't end up in another Nolan Patrick situation, even though his injuries, right? But we can't end up where he shares a great young player. Ellis is a great young player. Heiskanen's a great young player, and Cale Makar is one of the best young players of all time so far. It's like we can't end up in that scenario. We have to be one of those teams that hits.
Definitely not. It's crazy too because like the rankings have changed so much over the past like month.
Oh, let's talk about it.
Yeah. So I mean,
do you want to bring it up?
Yeah. So
go ahead.
Bob McKenzie, he posted his final draft rankings today, and a bit of a shakeup because I mean Shane Wright's been the projected number 1 overall basically for like the last 2 years for this draft. And for McKenzie in this one, he's dropped him off that number 1 ranking. So officially, at least for him, he does not have Shane Wright at number 1. And McKenzie did have him at number 1 in every other pre-draft ranking before this. So obviously something's changed in terms of what he's seen for that to happen. So just to list the rankings off, he's 1 to 10 here. He's got Slafkovsky number 1, Wright number 2, Cooley number 3, Nemec number 4, Cutter Gautier number 5, David Juracek 6, Joachim Camel 7, Lecker Mackey is 8, Matt Savoy 9, Marco Casper 10. And it's just very interesting to me because it kind of is, it seems like it's almost piggybacks off like what Steve was saying when we had him on. Shout out to Steve Kernianos, but he was saying to us that he didn't really view Wright as a number 1 overall pick because he wasn't even the best player on his team this past season.
Yeah.
So how could you be the best player in your draft class? You're not even the best player on your team. And obviously some of the higher, profile media members who make their rankings are obviously having the same type of viewpoint as that Steve has, which isn't surprising because Steve knows the shit. So
yeah,
not a surprise to me. The one that I'm interested in that even Russ brought up last week is Lecker Mackey. I mean, he seems to like he shot up those
slowly
rankings. Yeah, so I'm wondering why, and I'm wondering if is it worthwhile for the Flyers to maybe give him a shot.
I think the reality
as well, correct, or is he a winger?
The reality is that he had some success in the men's league, but it's like another situation where it's like a Joachim Camel. Like it's what they keep getting paired like very similar in the rankings. Like right now, Bob McKenzie's got Camel at 7 and Leonard Mackey at 8. Yeah. You're looking at 2 young guys who are able to produce goals at the higher level. They both have great shots.
They can play against men.
Yeah, they're both about the same size. They both play against men. Like very similar type of assets there in both of those type of players.
It's hard to think like which one would be the one if you were going for one of them.
The one thing I'll say is Joachim Camel, if you look at the pro experience, him and Nemec have vastly outperformed everybody else statistically.
Yeah, for sure. And
playing against men.
And Camel has a rocket of a shot too.
Yeah, so does Lecker Mackey.
Yeah.
But he didn't score 15 goals playing against men.
That's what I mean. And that's against like in a men's league against goalies that are a lot better.
So
typically at the lower level, the goalies won't be, as great. So
yeah. Well, to me, I think so. The reason I brought up all that is I feel like Joachim Camel in that window of 5 to I don't know, 8, whatever. It's so hard to even tell what things are there. I just feel like Camel is the safest pick where I think his low is like a 60 to 70 point player in the league. His high is a 90.
I could see that because, I mean, just from the research that I've done on him, because I wrote an article on him, so I went pretty in depth, that he's a player that really adapts well to like the systems that he's in. So it's easy for him, at least that what I saw and what I read is that it was easy for him to make the jump from the lower levels to pro, which means that I would imagine it
his
should
hockey
be
sense.
Yeah, exactly.
His really high hockey sense.
His hockey sense is there, so it'll probably be. It won't be a seamless jump to the NHL, but he might have a better time doing it than some of the other prospects, which I could believe because if you're already playing against men,
the reality is if we draft either Camel, Slafkovsky, Nemec, Juracek, those guys are even Lecker Mackey. I think all of those guys
will be
that are in this top. They're either playing for the Phantoms or the Flyers.
Yeah, I could see it for sure.
Why would you have the ability to get that 4th year out of them?
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. You can put them.
Why would you not put them on the Phantoms rather than just bringing some random veteran instead of putting a top player from the world stage that will draw in a crowd and send people to those games and cause a bunch of attention?
But that too, but then also those overseas guys, you get them accustomed to the North American like style. You get them accustomed to the rink. So it's a no-brainer for the Flyers.
Do you think that Slafkovsky is going to go number 1? Because for those who are not aware, hold on, sorry, Vasili. For those who are not aware, Craig Button and between Button and McKenzie, like super accurate, by the way. It's scary how accurate they are. It's not 100%, but like anywhere between 60 to 80% of these are going to be like on
in this spot. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
it's very, very strange. But
you know what? It'll be interesting for me because Montreal has new management in there. If it was Bergevin still, I'd say they would force the pick and go with Wright because like they're center crazy. But I wouldn't be surprised. Like I think it could go either way. I still lean towards Wright.
imagine that top line: Slavkovsky,
Yeah, I know.
Caulfield,
And
and
Suzuki.
Suzuki.
Oh, dude, there was an interesting quote today.
That was my guess on why he went to 1. By the way,
Yeah, there was an interesting quote today. So they had a show on TSN, like about like Mackenzie's draft rankings. I think it was with Bob McKenzie and James Duthie, one of like the broadcasters on TSN. And Duthie asked Slavkovsky why Montreal should take him first overall. And he said, I was reading something, Suzuki and Caulfield need a left wing, and I'm sitting here if they want me. So that's pretty badass to say, I would say.
Dude, the guy's got style.
He's got confidence there.
Well, like, okay, here's a crazy scenario. What happens if Slavkovsky goes 1?
Yeah.
And for some reason, Jersey's like, we wanted Nemec.
They want defenseman? I mean, that's not out of the realm of possibility. Just because I think Jersey probably does need defense because they're set.
They have Luke Hughes. They have Ty Smith.
Yeah. Ty Smith, yeah, he looks pretty decent. But they're think about their center. They have Hughes, Heischer, and Dawson Mercer already.
Yeah,
so like
they have a lot. They drafted McLeod in the past and Zaka.
If you're drafting Shane Wright, like, are you trading somebody to fit him in, or I mean, they're probably
gonna
send him back to junior, I'd imagine.
Right, but exactly, we're like a guy like Nemec, like I was saying, you can bring him over to the NHL this year.
It's hard. I'd be interested.
And he's probably pretty close to NHL. He's probably not NHL ready, but he's probably pretty close.
You know, you give him 6 months in the A, and you can slot him in on a third pair in the NHL.
Yeah, and you got complete control. Again, I don't think that this is going to happen. I'm just asking questions because then all of a sudden,
it becomes a lot more interesting.
Dude, could you imagine that? If that happened, people would be like, all of a sudden, like,
well,
right at 3.
That would change the whole landscape of the draft because if Slavkovsky and Nemec went top 2, then really Wright, Cooley, like
we still wouldn't get Cooley.
Could go anywhere. Yeah,
we still wouldn't get Cooley because then Arizona would go for fucking Wright.
Right. Yeah.
But
then you never know what Seattle would do, so it's possible.
They'll go for Cooley.
Maybe. Or maybe they'll go for a defenseman.
Maybe they'll go for Look, it's possible.
Anything could really happen.
Dude, I just don't hear people sold on Juracek. Like, he seems like such a boomer bust. That's what worries me about him. They're like, nobody's talking about him like, hey, this is a legit top pairing defenseman.
Yeah. I mean, people are saying that his upside's tremendously high, but there's a possibility that he might not reach just because who knows if the offensive prowess is there, like versus a Nemec. Like I know with Nemec, he has that like dynamic skill offensively. Juracek, who knows? It might end up being more like a really solid second pair guy if you can't figure it out offensively.
That's not what you take in the top 5.
No, definitely not.
It's what you hope you get in the second round.
You know what though? With him, it's more of a safe pick because he probably with the defensive skills he has. Even if he doesn't develop offensively, like he's going to be an NHL defenseman.
I agree with you.
It might not be to the level you want, but you're saying as a top 5, you're looking for big value players that can really change your organization.
Big value and a low floor.
Exactly,
or a high floor. Sorry,
high floor. Yeah.
So like that's why a guy like Cutter Gautier, like people are like, well, the very least that guy is going to be like like a top 6 goal scorer, maybe. At worst, he'll be a third line goal scorer, and at best, he is,
what do you think of him?
40-goal power scorer.
I haven't really looked into him.
I can't tell.
I see him.
He looked pretty good. I can't tell.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm a little wary on all the late bloomers, or not late bloomers.
Well,
but
dude,
like dudes who rise up the ranks super late. Like I'm wondering.
Slavkovsky
too, but. he was always in the top 10. Like Gautier wasn't even in the top 10 earlier this season. Like what happened? Like what are we seeing now?
So he's I think he just scored a lot of goals. Like
okay, fair enough.
Did really well. He outperformed Cooley.
I haven't been tuned in.
He outperformed Cooley at the last tournament, I believe, if I remember correctly.
The under 18s or whatever.
Look, it's important to recognize that like even a guy like Frank Nazar, right? Like these guys
are really good.
Yeah, because it's the US program. And it's like we don't really like. Dude, you heard what? Like, okay, that 2017 draft. If you told people that in 2017 that you would have the next Bobby Orr in that draft,
they'd tell you you're fucking crazy.
Right. So all of these people who say like, oh, the Flyers can walk away with a middle 6 forward or second, you have no fucking idea what they're going to walk away with.
Well, yeah, and
it's hit a home run,
especially too.
They have to hit a home run.
Let's be real. Aside from a few, media outlets and just like people that are covering prospects to the extent that they cover them, majority of people that are watching the Flyers like religiously probably aren't as tuned into the prospects as those people. So like, neither are we. That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know. Like, I know that certain guys are there. And that's why I'm asking all these questions when we have like the draft aspects like Russ and Steve on, because like I'm not keyed in like that. So like we don't really know if a guy's going to be a top 6 player, first line center, what the potential upside is. Because are we watching these guys play daily or like so often that you get to really know their games? No, we've seen probably a couple highlight packages and read some articles, but that's not effectively gauging what they can bring to the table, right? So you gotta kind of be wary of like, okay, there's not that much talent in this draft. Like you were saying, did anybody think Cale Makar was going to be the next Bobby Orr? No. So how do you know there isn't going to be the next Peter Forsberg in this draft?
You're looking for the right, and dude, this is why I believe that scouting is so difficult. And again, this comes from a guy who doesn't have experience scouting on a professional level at all. But like you're looking for the right mold. Like even if the guy is the best player right now, is that really what you're looking for? You're not looking for the best player right now. You're looking at who will be the best player from
in
this
5
draft.
years. Yeah.
Yes. Or not even 5 years.
Even longer.
In 2 years. Well, how could this change? Like even a guy like Morgan Frost, people could rip on, or even a guy like Shane Gostisbehere. Like that guy was taken in the 3rd round. I mean, the career he's had so far, he would have been a 1st-round pick defenseman, right? Most defensemen do not make the NHL, right? And what he was able to do, he was drafted. He was like 5'9", you know? He grew 2 inches. His body changed. Like
you're only 18.
That's what I'm saying. You're investing in a thing that's like developing. So you have to try to project like. That's why I think Slafkovsky's going to go so high. They're like, dude, the guy's 18. He's 6'4", 229 pounds, nothing but muscle.
And that's what I think.
Confidence and seems to be getting better every day.
Yeah, that's why I think too. Gautier is, a big he's riser just because he's 6'5" and fucking huge.
Is he? I see him here as 6'3". Is he that tall?
I've seen 6'5" in certain places. I could be wrong.
No, let's look it up because it's important. Because quite frankly, and different sources have different shit all the time, so I don't blame you if it's inconsistent or whatever. Like, it just happened with like Chris and I were talking about Ali Lishkill.
Yeah,
and I was like, we're talking about like. Are the Flyers interested in bringing in young players? Like, why didn't the Flyers take McLennan? I was like, well, they signed Ollie Lishko, and I was like, he's like 5'9", and he's like, no, he's 5'11", and then he looked it up. It said 5'11". When I looked it up, it said 5'9".
Yeah, that's nuts. I saw this. I saw the 6'5" on Twitter. So
6'2".
Blame Twitter. I see 6'2". I see 6'3".
Yeah, he's probably around 6'2", 6'3".
Yeah, it's all over the place.
But again, that's
a big kid.
Still big kid, but look, I don't know how good these players really are. I can look at highlight videos, but that's not where you know that they're great.
No, exactly. It's on a shift-to-shift basis. You know when you know a player's great, it's if he goes out there, has a bad shift, and then comes back out and still plays to the best of his ability. Like you want a guy that can bounce back from adversity. If something goes wrong, is he going to be able to work through that? And I think that's a big part of it, and a big part of scouting, to be honest, is just looking to see, okay, because you're playing at the highest level, you're going to be facing adversity on a nightly basis, so you're not going to want to be drafting players that aren't going to be able to handle that, right? So I think that is a big thing that goes into it as well, most likely. But like you said, we're not professionals, so we don't know. But there's more than just highlight videos and great goals that go into why a guy should be drafted as high as he is. Really,
I think we just have to make sure, like a guy like Matthew Savoy, like. I see why everybody loves him. Like in my mind, if we picked Savoy, I wouldn't be like, oh man, we got the guy who was falling down. I'd be like, okay, well, I think that they're like seeing it. Okay, he's not the guy we want him to be, but in like a year or two, he might be. Yeah, he might be where we want him to be, and we might see this guy as like an 80, 90 point player in the NHL. Because I think that's what you're looking for if you're drafting at 5. You're not
dynamic. He has dynamic skills, so
you're not looking for a third line center. At the very least, you're looking for a top line guy or a guy you think can be one of the big play drivers on your team. So
one of the pivots, a definite second line player. Exactly.
Yeah. At the very least, like if you're drafting a defenseman up high, you're not drafting him because you think I'm grabbing the best defenseman from this draft. He is going to be a number 3 defenseman.
Yeah.
I hope you're not doing that. Because I think that's a mistake. I don't think that's how drafting works. It's not because you're investing in a human to develop.
Yeah. Exactly.
And I think I got made fun of for this a while back ago, but I still stand by this statement that great players are developed, not drafted. And majority of the time that is the case. Yes, there are cases where McDavid walks in, needs nothing, dominates, even a Sidney Crosby, but they still even develop and evolve. But majority of players,
yeah, exactly.
Majority of players need development time to make the NHL.
No, not everybody's Sidney Crosby or Connor McDavid. Like most players,
even great players need.
Yeah, time. Exactly. This is a tough league. Players don't always figure it out the first year. My biggest example to that is Couturier. Players don't always figure it out as soon as they get into the league.
100%.
So Couturier 3-4 seasons before he really became, the player that we know now.
Nazem Kadri.
A lot of players, right?
Dude, there's a lot of them, dude. Majority of players are like that. Jamie Benn didn't break out at first either.
No.
Tyler Seguin didn't break out at first.
Yeah, exactly. Even Seguin.
Dude, it takes time. Majority of players take time.
Whoever the Flyers do get, like you're saying, though, I just hope that it's a player where their skill level, is really high end because that's obviously what they need. Wishful thinking, but at number 5, they're in the position to get someone like that. So
yeah, and that's what I expect. I expect for them to get one of the best players from this draft.
Exactly.
Dude, I am like fantasizing so much about Logan Cooley falling to us for some weird reason.
It could happen. You never know.
It definitely could happen. I didn't think that Joel Farabee would fall to us. We definitely didn't think Cole Caulfield would have fallen to us.
Well, like you were saying, Gautier outscored him. So who knows how much that could have affected things. Sometimes those tournaments, you never know what the scouts see in those rooms.
Dude,
or what they're thinking.
I don't know either. It's very strange.
Yeah.
Because... Well, sometimes they're absolutely right. Like you were talking about Peter Forsberg. We took him, I think it was the 6th overall pick that year.
Something like that.
But he was ranked outside of the first round. It was a very controversial pick.
Yeah.
That's why he was just like a throw-in for Lindros. Nobody knew
look what he turned out
almost as good as Lindros. Yep. Nobody thought he was going to be a franchise caliber
back
player.
Then, I'm pretty sure like the Flyers scouting department, at least in Europe, was like very advanced compared to a lot of the rest of the league from the stuff I've read.
Well, let's get back to that. Let's start hiring robots.
The thing is now everybody's in Europe.
Chuck Fletcher, get out there. Back
then in 91, nobody was out there. But now
can we use can we build a neural network that will automatically
detect who's going to be the next top line player?
Yeah, dude.
It'd be amazing.
And then you can detect the steal of every draft. So you end up drafting like all the guys who would have probably dropped like the 5th or the 6th round. It's like you kind of like don't do that well in the first round, but all the other rounds you just like nail it.
Just got a team full of Kaprizovs and Dats.
Yeah, they've never drafted a star player past the 5th round.
Oh man, do you want to get into
every Luke Robitaille available?
I think we should talk about the Farabee injury because I haven't really brought that up.
Yeah, I guess because it's not fun. So let's talk about this. So Joel Farabee has just announced that he has gone under. The team has just announced that he has gone under surgery. I don't remember the name of the surgery. It's called.
I got it here. I got
it. Please look it up.
Yeah, successful disc replacement surgery in the cervical region this morning. So I think that's in the neck area, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
I'm not a doctor, though, so don't quote me. But he's expected to make a full recovery 3 to 4 months, which placed around the beginning of the season. Maybe he'll miss the first 10 games into November because season's slated to start about October 12th, I think.
Yeah.
So my first thing is like, okay, like
Damn.
he got surgery. That really sucks because like Farabee, I mean, I thought this might be like a big breakout season for him, but not to say that it still won't be because, like I said, he still has a lot of time to recover. Obviously, like based on what the Flyers released, this wasn't something lingering. Like he had some injuries last season. This is something new, apparently, that
Yeah.
he, what started his
Well, it
offseason
said he passed
workouts.
his physical, right?
Yeah,
On the way
exactly.
out.
He started his off-season workouts and something just felt wrong. And then naturally, as a player, what are you going to do? You're going to go to your team. They're
I,
going to assess
I,
you, and then
well, what I think happened,
things happen.
I think they didn't resolve what was wrong with him during the season.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. But the thing is, like, I mean, what do you really want the team to do? He passed his physical. He starts working out again. Things, I mean, to take a turn for the worse, where he has to go and get assessed, and they figure this out. Like, would you rather him have waited and then have him try to heal it naturally, then it doesn't get healed and he's out all year? Might as well just get the surgery once you figure out you got to go that way. I mean, how are you supposed to know? Like, I see people bitching, why didn't he get it at the end of the season? Well, they didn't know this was a thing at the end of the season. So how are you supposed to assess something that it isn't effectively a problem at the point that it's happening? So I can't fault the Flyers. I mean, they got him the surgery. Hopefully it's a successful recovery for Farabee on his end. He's a young guy, so typically with injuries like this and huge injuries, and this isn't really a big one, but it is in the neck region, so you always got to be careful in that area because it can happen with the back. But he's a young player. Typically, the younger you get a procedure or huge procedures like this done, the easier it will be for your body to recover. I mean, as an older player, it might be more difficult. So that's kind of why it's not very concerning to me. And also, like, 3 to 4 months, he could be back. If it's 3 months, let's say, hypothetically, they did say 3 to 4 months. He could be back for the start of the season. So I don't understand why it's such a panic, at least on Twitter.
Well, I think people just assume the worst at everything.
Which I guess for this team you can, but like until I see him miss like 4 months of the season, I can't be pissed. I can't be mad about it.
Yeah.
Like,
it doesn't really change anything anyway.
Yeah, exactly. We'll have to. But until I see Joel Farabee not playing until January, then I'll be pissed at the Flyers medical staff. But until then, like, the guy could be back for the first game of the season for all you know. Sorry, Yariv, I went on a bit of a rant, but
no, it's all good. I mean, I'm just upset from the standpoint that I really wanted him to go in, but it continues to go with what I said about like this just not feeling like the season where you just take a risk.
Yeah, exactly.
And push all out. It seems
that's
like
one of your best young guys, and he's already out. So
yeah, it seems like you're gonna dig yourself a bigger hole. And I keep hearing people say that Chuck Fletcher knows he's on his way out, and if he doesn't get it together, he's gonna get fired. Maybe, that's a really bad way to go into the season.
But making moves from a position like that,
a weakness, from desperation. Good. I would hope that the Flyers, like ownership, knows better than to put him in that position to tell him that. You know, at least let him operate as if all things are normal.
I can't jump to that conclusion at this point. Like, people are saying that, but like, what the fuck do they really know? So, you know what I mean? Until I see him making deals that make zero sense.
Guessing, dude.
Exactly. They're just guessing at what's going to happen. So, you can't really jump to a conclusion when there's no kind of evidence behind that. Sure, there's a mandate of some sort of aggressive retool. But even Fletcher himself said it's going to be very similar, if anything, to the 2018-19 season where he brought in Hayes and Niskanen and Braun. And where those aggressive retool type of moves where he's like trading away like high-end prospects and stuff and mortgaging the future. Not really. So like until I see him effectively mortgage the future and make bad deals, I can't really criticize the guy, right? You're just yelling at nothing.
I hope not. I mean, I can tell you if we see that, I mean, it's the end for him.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
Because the reality is, even if you go all out and the Flyers just make the playoffs or something, or barely miss the playoffs, you're still gone, dude.
Yeah, exactly.
So like,
well, I would say like, okay, in your estimation, if the Flyers don't make the playoffs next season, he's fired, right? Because that's what I'm.
If he goes all out, like if he goes out and signs big players and makes all these big promises,
that's what I mean. Like if he does all that stuff and they don't make it,
doesn't make the playoffs, I think he's fired.
I agree, yeah, 100%.
If he goes into the season going, look, I'm not doing that stuff.
I mean, is it like
it'll damage us. Here's my plan. My plan is to do all this through this year.
Yeah, make some calculated moves, but then really make it.
And I can get as competitive, by this year. This is the reality. Like I can lie to you and I can tell you can do it next year, but it's not going to happen. I would hope that he's being honest with them.
You know what? If I was an owner, I would rather have that than somebody just
That's
feeding me bullshit personally.
That's my point. And I think aggressive retool, it falls under that.
Yeah.
Aggressive retool is an upsell to the fans to say, hey guys, don't leave, please.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll fix this. We'll fix it.
Well, you got to understand the Flyers have a marketing department, so you don't think they've gone over all of these things?
Well, it's also like they're going to try to fix it as fast as possible. They're not going to go, for the next 5 years, we're going to be bad.
It's professional sports, man. You can't just take a back seat. If a move comes your way and it seems plausible, why not, right?
Or you can say like, oh, we won't be that competitive for like this year or 2 years. That's pretty much it, dude. After that, like who the fuck's going to watch you? Pretty much the Flyers were bad for 2 years in a row. They have 1 year to kind of be like, no, we're fixing things. Otherwise, everybody's going to be like, burn this shit to the fucking ground. And I don't blame anybody. But they have 1 year to get it right. They can either rush into it and fuck themselves over, signing bad contracts and further damaging this. Because even if they fire Fletcher, it's going to take longer to turn it around. Or they do it smart and they do it aggressively in a way where, hey, maybe some of these changes come throughout the season, not all throughout the offseason, where we probably won't get it all done. We'll have to spend all assets to do it. And when we inevitably just make the playoffs and out in the first round, we won't have any assets to go for it again the next year. That's my concern. You know what I mean? And I hope they're not that dumb. Sorry.
I'm hoping that's not the case as well. I mean, we'll see what happens. I personally think if he has a season, like an off season like last year where he does that like Voracek trade, trades assets for Risto, trades assets, to get rid of Ghost. If he does something like that and then they still can't make it in, he's probably gone.
That's what I'm saying. He's fired.
And then to be honest,
again, you're fired.
Yeah, to be honest too, if they start out bad, I mean, he's probably gone in a couple months too, and Briere's in there. So that wouldn't surprise me whatsoever.
They have to show. So let's clarify this. If they don't go out and get, like, let's say he even goes out and get Johnny Gaudreau, but that's it. Like he moves JVR and he signs Gaudreau and he's like, hey, that's my big move for the offseason.
I don't think that would really, if they didn't make the playoffs, that would sink him, to be honest.
No, that's what I'm saying. If you do one big move, but you don't burn assets, you sign a big free agent, you show progress to moving in the right direction without damaging the team, like while accruing assets, while getting rid of other dead cap space. I mean, still getting rid of JVR. Like Gaudreau is not going to be looked at as dead cap space. Like, this is a player we can build around, right?
Exactly.
So
smart move. Exactly.
Exactly. That's a move for the next 5 years, right? Like that you can sell that. But if he like goes all out and trades for this guy and brings this guy in, the team's not good. They're going to be like, dude, you don't know what the fuck you're doing. You're out. We're going to bring somebody else in to do it,
which is understandable.
But then it's going to take longer. I don't think the Flyers are observing every single move he makes or anything. But I think he himself has to set the agenda properly and the expectations right for this season.
Well, yeah, and he has to, like you're saying, set the expectations because I mean,
he's not crazy. He's not stupid.
No, exactly. If he's setting them and bringing to management that we're going to be a playoff team and they aren't a playoff team, that's a recipe for disaster as a general manager. But that's in any line of work, right? If you're setting an expectation to your boss and you don't meet that expectation, they're going to come call in and ask, well, you told me this was going to happen and it didn't. So
exactly. But if you go, hey, look, I could lie to you and tell you that we're going to be a playoff team next year. I go, we might be. Okay, it's possible.
But we're not going to guarantee that, exactly.
Right. I can't guarantee it, and I don't know how good of a team we're going to be. The same thing we've all said. Look, but then that's where you say, look, but that's not acceptable, right? So we need a plan to actually make us good. So here's my plan, right? This is the money I need to get off of the cap. These are the players that I see available next offseason, right? Like I'm showing you all this.
Exactly. Here's what I could add now that won't burn, a ton of our assets.
Right. These are the type of things I'm going to go for now this year to make sure that we show progress. We'll get people back in the stadium because we're not going to probably be that great, but I can get us to a point where we're either fighting for the playoff or maybe Tortorella, the guy I brought in here, can get this shit together and we can get it into the playoffs. All of a sudden, we're making it into the playoffs. We didn't make any stupid decisions. We didn't lose any assets. We have some young players. We have our draft picks going into the draft. You know what I mean? That is the way you sell a plan and go, now I can make you moves. Now I have a really important offseason. And then I go the insurance at the end. I've said this. I probably sound like a repeated machine. I go, and our insurance is if we're not that good, we're in a race for 2 franchise players, not 1, 2. So even if we're the worst team in the league, we still get 1.
Bedard, vice versa.
Yeah. Even if we miss out on one of them, we still grab from a crop of star players, and that is enough for me to leverage that into next season.
Yeah.
These are things that I don't know what it's like to be a GM in the league.
But that's what I would be doing if I was him, to be honest.
Setting the proper expectations. Like, do you really want to set yourself up to be like, I'm going to get this team back in the playoffs and great next year? It's possible. It's possible.
Yeah.
But the pieces to do that are not necessarily in place now.
It's not. They might not all be realistic once you actually get into the offseason, get to the draft floor, see what teams might be willing to do move-wise or even UFA-wise once you get there. So we'll see what happens.
What if the Flyers are good, dude?
They could be good. You know what's kind of hilarious, which I wanted to bring up, is so this weekend I was at a bachelor party with a bunch of buddies. Most of the buddies that I was with, huge hockey guys, they were all like picking my brain about like the Tortorella thing because they know, I cover the team and do all this stuff. And they were all saying to me, like, I see online, like all these Philly fans are like not sure about Tortorella and like what's going to happen if he's going to make the team any better. It's like, I personally think like Tortorella will get him back to the playoffs. So seeing that outside perspective from like other people that watch the sport makes me think like
what he's known for doing.
Yeah, exactly. But that's my thoughts. That's my thoughts as well. Like he turned Columbus into a playoff team with players that arguably, I mean, you could say that Columbus was in a worse position when he took them over than where the Flyers are at. So
yeah.
And one thing I really wanted to get into that kind of made me mad this week,
sure,
that I saw was just all these rumors about Oscar Lindblom getting bumped.
Oh yeah.
And like the first thing is, I don't know where the rumors are coming from. I don't really think that there's a basis to them personally. I mean, I'll believe it when I see it. It's just like you're gonna buy out a player who's making $3 million. He's a young player. I believe he's only 23 or 24 years old. I think the last half of the season, he scored 26 points since Mike Yeo took over, which was one of the tops on the team. Like, just from a Flyers perspective, like, I understand you buy him out, you save cap space, but like there has to be other ways to rid of some cap space if you want it. And also, like, do you really think that no team is going to trade for Oscar Lindblom? Like, I find that ludicrous to me. I don't know. I just don't understand the line of thinking there.
Yeah, I think there's like a rampant lack of understanding of values players. I'm confused by it. I've turned off podcasts when they've gone to that portion because I'm like, okay, there's no value here. This isn't real. Yeah. And like dude, people can say to us, we don't know what we're talking about. That's fine with me. Yeah. I've heard this. I literally, if you go back to the stuff like way before you join this, you can hear me very clearly say that this happens cyclically every year. I said it like, I'm not new to this shit. Okay. I'm not new to the Flyers. I'm not new to any of these writers. Like, nobody knew who the hell I was.
Well, same here. I mean, I've been following him forever. So I know this bullshit always happens, but it just doesn't make sense for the fact that like,
but it's like, but you have to understand, it's like there's no rhyme or reason to any of this shit.
Yeah,
first of all, I'm
logically speaking, I'm trying to assess it.
I am the first person, and you can vouch for it. I'm the first person who brought up trading Lindblom, right?
Yeah,
that was the first time you heard it, right?
Yeah,
was me bringing it up, and I think it's so ridiculous for the buyout thing.
Yeah, the buyout doesn't make sense. You can trade him easily.
This is my problem with all these things, is that they all come from a position of we are losers.
Yeah.
We can't get anything for any of our players. We overpaid for all of them. They're all underachievers. We have nothing really to offer. We should take whatever we can get.
This isn't how the rest of the league views the players.
No.
I'm almost 100% sure.
That's like when people were like, John Tortorella loves the Flyers? Where's this guy from? Yeah. That's the reputation of the Flyers around the NHL. That's my view of the Flyers up until recently. And I'm talking about very recent. I'm talking about under Hextall. Like, very recently, everything has turned into a disaster. And I actually don't think it's because of Hextall. I think it's a mix of a lot of things. And I think Hextall didn't do a great job at the end there. And there are reasons he should have been fired. The communication problems. But there's clearly a problem here beyond Hextall. Like, people kept saying, like, you can blame Hextall or Fletcher for any one of these things, but this is a team effort to fuck this one up.
Yeah, the team has been bad, and I mean, it can fall on the players, really, if you think about it. But like, from a Lindblom perspective, it just, for me, doesn't make sense just because the guy, okay, so first off, he's coming off cancer. That ravages your body. You see the signs if you've watched every game. Like,
I also don't see what is the point of rushing to trade him.
Well, yeah, that's my first thing. But I mean, like you see the signs of him improving, the conditioning getting better. So obviously, if you see that, yeah, if you see that these past 2 seasons, it's only going to continue to improve going forward. So arguably, you can make the case that he's going to get probably better next season, improve next season, because we even saw him turning a bit of a corner in the second half of the season. He was contributing a lot more when he wasn't on the fourth line anyway.
Here's a realistic scenario for Lindblom. The Flyers go into the season with Lindblom. They're not that good. They don't know if they're going to hold on to him. They trade him at the trade deadline.
Yeah, I could see that
for most likely like a third to a second round pick.
Yeah,
that sounds a lot more realistic to me than it's the off season. I don't know how good my team is going to be. Let me buy out a 26-year-old RFA,
or they trade him. I could totally see them.
Who, quite frankly, should be too good. Yeah. And if we can just fucking fix this team, we shouldn't even have to move Oscar Lindblom.
Personally, I really do think that Lindblom, I mean, like I said, I watched, obviously everybody's probably watched this past season, but I really think the second half he was turning a corner. He looked a lot more like himself from, before the cancer diagnosis. So I don't understand, you see progress like that, why not try to see it through, especially with a coach that, kind of empowers players that play his style. It loves guys that play the right way, loves guys that, play on the board.
I would want
cycle. John Tortorella system, he would fit well. So
if I'm Fletcher, I want Tortorella to get his hands on these players first.
Yeah, exactly.
Look, the reality is, and I hear people talking shit about the run in 2019. Oh, it didn't matter. They weren't a playoff. Yeah, that same team they beat went to the finals the next year, right? Yeah. And the team that beat us in the 7 games also lost in the Eastern Conference Finals to Tampa Bay in 7. It's not like that team was like, oh yeah, it was just a fucking fluke. This team is not devoid of talent. There's something wrong here. They might have to crush it. Maybe it fails this year, and it is what it is. And you really have to do a rebuild.
Well, sometimes that's what has to happen, right?
Right, but
you never know. Yeah,
but something broke here. This team was trending in the right direction. There was a period where Von Perver had 17 goals during a season. 15 of them were at even strength. He was clear-cut one of the best defensemen in the NHL.
I honestly think,
from a youth standpoint,
I honestly think that Tortorella is a key to that, because I do believe the management knows that there's something wrong, like locker room wise, culture wise.
I mean, he said it immediately in his interview.
Exactly, right? So I mean, if he's saying and he's a new coach, then
if you guys. I'm sorry to cut you off, but if you didn't see that, shout out to Taryn Hatcher in her interview with John Tortorella for NBC. He mentions that the locker room is splintered.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Go ahead. Essentially, if he's mentioning that, he hasn't coached here previously. So somebody is telling him that. Obviously, that's in the organization, or he's just watched the team the past year and kind of figured it out for himself. He's a smart guy. He could probably look at it if he really keys in on the team he's about to start coaching. So either way, so if that's a known thing, obviously the management group thinks that he is the right guy that can get that splinter room back, together and kind of make sure that that's no longer occurring. Everybody's on the same page. So I think that'll be a key factor for a lot of the younger guys. And it's been going back to that. If you can't operate as a team, if you're not on the same page, especially in hockey, it's not going to work out very well for you. So
I will say this: if Chuck Fletcher can move out JVR without losing assets, if you actually even get something for him,
what do we
a fourth round pick?
What do we classify as losing assets? Anything?
I don't think you should be trading a goddamn thing to get rid of JVR.
I hear you.
Him, you should, if you want this 20 goal scorer on a 1-year contract,
give me a 6th rounder for him.
Yeah, I'll eat cap on him, but I'm not.
Okay, fair enough.
Not getting any assets.
Personally,
cap-wise, I'm only eating 25%.
I'd probably eat, if he's $7 million, I'd eat up to $5 million. So I'd eat $2 million. That's probably my flexibility.
Exactly.
Because at that point,
remember, his actual dollar value is $5 million. It's $5 million. $1 million of that is a bonus, so we can even pay that bonus. And then it's $4 million. And again, I think there are teams out there that are in some financial discomfort, let's say, that could use a contract like that. And by the way, he's still a 20 goal scorer. On our team, he doesn't make sense. He's not what we need at all, right? No. Not really. We could, whatever, he'll help us in certain cases, but he's not worth that type of money to us. Okay. No. but a team that maybe is not even trying to hit the cap, not even close, a team like Ottawa, right? They're not even close. They're not going to be close to the cap. They're not going to be spending the cap. They need somebody to buy them. So they actually need a contract. Or
and they might think,
Arizona.
You know what? This makes sense for us because
it's a 1-year deal.
20 goals, exactly.
Second unit power play guy. He's gone at the end of the year. We're not holding on to him. We can maybe even flip him at the trade deadline.
It's not like he's like a locker room cancer by any means. JVR has always been known to be a really good guy.
And that's why in my head, I'm like, I'm not eating assets for this anymore.
Yeah.
Either that or I'm holding him. That's what I'm saying.
Personally, if they gave up, like, let's say hypothetically they traded like a 4th or 5th rounder to get somebody to take him, I wouldn't be that pissed.
That's not enough, but sure. Yeah.
That's what I mean by that.
You can make that case to me, fine. But even that, I would say, is kind of still mediocre. I would still say time to stop losing trades. And for that, you need to have leverage, which means you can't have people behind you going, you better fucking make moves right now, because then you're going to lose those trades and you will end up with nothing at the end. And we're going to be doubly fucked. We better hope that he's not behaving that way. If we are, not only are we going to watch this team go downhill, and then it's going to take even longer to rebuild.
Yariv, what is the date? It is Tuesday, June 28th. It'll be Wednesday, June 29th when this comes out. We're about a week away from the draft, so we're going to see how Chuck Fletcher's operating, because I'm sure I don't want to, I'm not a betting man all the time, but I would say that there's a high chance I think that we're going to see more than just a draft pick get made in the first round on the Flyers end of things. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised, no.
And actually, I did get an email from the Flyers today. There's a press conference for the draft tomorrow, I believe, at 1 p.m. Eastern time. Oh,
great. Okay.
So I guess it'll be today if you're listening to this.
Yeah. So I'll have to take a lunch at work and watch it, I guess.
I probably will have to miss it because I'll be working through
Or I'll just watch it while I work. Yeah. Hopefully my boss isn't listening.
I would love to be able to have that on. Hope maybe I will be. But definitely make sure to check that out. Look, I think the reality is the Flyers are picking at 5. I don't think they're trading back.
No, they're not trading back.
I think it's more likely they trade up than to trade back, and I think both are incredibly unlikely.
Yeah, I see them picking at 5 as well. The only way I see them trading the pick is if it's something they can't refuse, which I don't know if anything like that's on the table, realistically.
I mean,
at this point,
would you trade the 5th overall pick for Alex DeBrincat straight up?
Straight up? Yeah, I would, just because he has 40 goals, and you never know if the 5th overall pick is ever going to
guaranteed 40 goal score.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
40 goal score.
But anything more than that, I don't know. I'd have to think about it.
Yeah. Honestly, I think the value is definitely there for that 5, especially if it's straight up. Yeah.
Oh yeah. More than that, I really got to know. I really have to know what the pieces are, and because the 9.9 qualifying offer is scary.
The Konechny and the 5th, I'll tell you, I'm already in no category.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it.
That's absolutely not. I was like, I'd rather have both of those players than.
Yeah, me too.
Because
ultimately, I mean, Konechny scores about 60 points a season, most likely. Like he might get 70 one year, could get 50, could get 60, whatever. He's in the range of 50 to 70, let's say. Like Alex DeBrincat, I don't think he's ever scored more than 85 points. Like I'm going to search it up right now. So hypothetically, you're telling me Konechny and the 5th overall pick won't equate to more than 85 points for you?
For 10, you're essentially trading the 5th overall pick for 10 goals.
Yeah, fuck that. That doesn't make any sense. Like from an asset management perspective, it makes zero sense.
It's a terrible fucking decision.
Not even. He hasn't even ever hit 80 points. So the most points Alex DeBrincat has ever gotten was this season, 82 games. He had 41 goals, 37 assists, 78 points.
It's a great season.
It's a great season, but like a 5th overall pick could potentially probably be a 60-point player in his own right, hypothetically. So imagine your 5th overall pick turns into a 60 or 50, even 50-point guy, even 40-point guy, and Konechny continues to get 60 points. That's still. And
you're also removing the promise that the 5th overall pick could be better than DeBrincat.
Yeah, and the promise that you don't have to pay out of them $9.9 million.
Yeah, so you actually pay when they come to the league. You're going to be paying them minimum.
So realistically, let's say like. This is obviously a huge hypothetical, but like Konechny continues to just get 60 points a year. Your 5th overall, for some reason, never gets better than 40 points a year. Even with that happening, those two guys are still getting 100 points, and DeBrincat's best season is 78. Still 22 more points for less money. Like, I get it, but fuck it.
Look, would I trade Konechny in a later first for DeBrincat? Yes.
Yeah, yes, exactly. But the 5th,
later first round picks, they tend to be like your 40-point guys, right?
Exactly.
Like your Ryan Hartman's until he broke out, your Scott Lawton's.
But the fifth,
there's
too much potential to know what it could be. Like you're saying, it could be the next Cale Makar.
That's what I'm saying. I was like, I can't. That's what this team has right now. Is we have to maintain that promise while holding the assets that we have and slowly chipping away at the mountain of cap space that we have to get rid of to do a proper overturn. We don't need to get rid of everybody, but we know JVR is a big one. We either can wait out JVR and potentially Lindblom too, right? There's $10 million right there. You can either potentially wait those guys out, or you get lucky, you move them properly without losing, and you can start your fucking rebuild now. Now, maybe Fletcher will say, oh, well, we can start it now, and whatever, I'll trade 2 third-round picks to get rid of JVR. Like you can do that. You can get away with that. But like I said, if you do all that, okay, and then you sign your big free agent, and then you miss the playoffs, and you shed the team of these assets.
It's a bad look.
Exactly. Then you're definitely gone. There's no way of saving your job at that point. You're literally hitting the pedal and saying, hey, I don't know if I'm going to win this race, but I'm going to damn well scratch and crawl to get there.
Yeah. And in terms of, like I was saying before, asset management wise, I mean, it's probably not the best way to go, especially when your team was, bottom 5 team in the league. More likely than not, it's going to be too difficult to get them back to where you want them to be just in one off season, as we've kind of been saying this whole episode. But we'll see where it goes. I mean,
like if
there's a lot of question marks.
My point is, if you didn't give Fletcher the leash to be like, I'm at least considering him that he will be the GM of this team next year.
Yeah,
you should fire him right now.
Well, they have to be, at least, because at least in my perspective, from
I don't think they would have let him hire Tortorella.
Yeah, from a management viewpoint, like you have to know that every GM wants his own coach. So if they're letting Fletcher make another hire,
right, and then potentially they're gonna fire him again.
Yeah, and then you're paying 2 coaches like Tortorella and Vigneault, and then have to hire another one. Like I said, that's not a good look.
Going to want to fire that coach.
It's not good. Not a good look on the organization.
I'm just saying look, they could fire him very quickly. Again, if they look awful for the start of the year, he's probably getting fired. But I don't think they're planning on it.
No.
I think their plan is Chuck Fletcher's our guy. We believe in his plan, and I think he put a plan out there. I think that's wearing inside. I don't think he has full gung ho support.
No, I think the ideal plan probably for the Flyers is that they kind of get back on track, get close to the playoffs or make it. Fletcher gets another season, then you slowly transition maybe Briere into the role and he kind of shoots up as a president. That's obviously just all hearsay and hypothetical, but I would be surprised to see something like that occur. But we'll see what goes on. I mean, like you said, though, it's a results-based business. If they're really bad to start the season, like on the same level that they were last season, he will be gone quick.
Yeah.
And that's what will happen, just because people will be losing their minds, and the team needs to placate the fan base in some sort of way, and that will be the way to do it. People will be very excited for Daniel Briere. They already are, to be honest. He's not even in the position.
I know. And people are already talking like he's the next GM. He has no experience being GM, too.
No.
People are just desperate for answers. I would say at this point, we have to buy into the fact that
at this point, we gotta wait and see. Lots of questions.
Well, we're hoping that Tortorella can change our culture. I mean, we're putting a lot of hope in Tortorella. But I did look him up here. He has he's definitely one of the most winning coaches in NHL history. Of the active ones, he is only behind Lindy Ruff, Paul Maurice, Peter Laviolette, Daryl Sutter. And then it's Tortorella. So the list as it goes is Scotty Bowman, Joel Quenneville, Barry Trotz, which is really crazy if you look at the fact that those 2 names were, you know what I mean? Recently, fucking wild. Ken Hitchcock, Al Arbor, Lindy Ruff, Paul Maurice, Alain Vigneault.
Not too shabby.
Peter Laviolette, Mike Babcock, Daryl Sutter, Dick Irvin, which I actually don't know him. He's got 4
He's like
cups.
An old school, I think, with the Leafs.
Yeah.
Like in the 60s or 50s or something like that.
Yeah. Yep. The 20s to the 50s.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Pat Quinn and then John Tortorella.
All right. So I'm off by like 20 years, but at least the hockey history somehow.
Yeah. Bill Meltzer was right. His career is so similar to Mike Keenan. It's like,
crazy. Definitely. And
another a lot of overtime losses.
Another thing with Torts, in his 20 seasons as a bench boss, he's brought his team to the playoffs 12 of 20, so over 500 on that. And in those 12 playoff appearances, he's brought his team past the first round 5 of the 12 times. His team, 5 of the 12 times they've qualified for the playoffs. So he gets past the first round quite a bit, almost half the time he makes it into the playoffs. I mean,
it's more impressive considering the last 5 years he's been in Columbus, 6 years.
Yeah, exactly. They made the playoffs most of those times,
and they weren't great teams.
And aside from the Colorado Avalanche, his Columbus Blue Jackets are the only team to beat the Tampa Bay Lightning in the last 3 seasons. So that's also impressive.
Absolutely wild, dude. He has coached. So let's look at Tortorella's seasons real quick here. So in 1990, he coached 4 games. He was 0-3-1. That was probably his first year in the league. And then that was the Rangers, which is weird. Then he went to Tampa Bay. He was 12-27-1 in a 43-game season.
Probably like Cavalier's rookie year or something.
Yeah.
Like that.
Then he was 27-40-11. Then then he was 36-25-16. This is the tying era. Oh, and then 5. Yeah, sorry. There's ties. 16 ties, 5 overtime losses. Then 46.
Bring back the ties, man.
I know, right? Then 46-22-8-6. Look how much better as a coach he got. Then 43-33. Then 44-33-5. They got rid of the ties now. That's interesting. And then 31-42. Then he's out. Right. Then he goes to the Rangers. It starts off 12-7. I guess he takes over during the season. Then he goes 38-33, then 44-33, then 51-24, then 26-18 in a 48-game season, then 36-35. Oh, I'm sorry, 26-18 in a 48-game season. He gets fired. Then he goes to Vancouver. He's 36-35 during the season, gets fired. Then Columbus, he starts off 34-33. Excluding overtime losses, by the way. Then for Columbus, for the first year, listen to this, dude. First year with Columbus, they're 34-33-8. Okay, for a .507 winning percentage. The second year he takes over in 82 games, 50-24-8 for .659.
Yeah, that was
winning percentage.
They went to the second round, I think, and lost to the Penguins that year. They were good that season.
But dude, that turnaround is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, since
50 wins.
Yeah, that's nuts. Tortorella's a good fucking coach. Literally, okay.
Second best season.
I'm pretty sure from what you mentioned,
best.
Other than the first few seasons as a rookie coach in Tampa, when he had a lot of young guys, he really never had a season where he ever lost.
No tanking.
No, but he never had a season where
middle tier.
Yeah, he never had a season where he lost more games than the team won.
Yeah. Bubble team or playoff team.
Exactly. He's never had
less.
Yeah, it's never wow, this team under Tortorella, we lost 35 games and won 12. Shit like that does not happen under him.
So so the next year 45 wins, 30 losses. That's almost just as good of a season because it's such a great season. Then 45-31-4, then 33-22-15, and then he gets fired going 18-26-12 in the shortened season.
Okay.
That's the only year he had a losing record.
But after that year, that was the season that they traded Panarin and Duchesne, and they didn't keep any of his good players. So what do you want?
Yeah, the team fell apart during COVID. They had all these injuries.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. He's exciting. I was like, dude, he's like my savior. And I was like, please, I don't want to put too much into you, but please fix this fucking team.
No, he might. He just might because he has a track record of doing things like that. I mean, before he went to Columbus, I'm sure they never thought that was a possibility. So
yeah,
we'll see what he does with the Flyers.
We'll see what he does. All right, let's call this.
I just want to end and say lots of questions that we all have. We're a week away from some answers, so just wait.
All I'll say is tomorrow in the press conference, we better hear an update about Ryan Ellis as well.
Oh yeah, because I'm interested on that.
And we need to know, or they better know.
I hope they know.
I don't think we're gonna hear anything, but still,
no. I hope they know because if they don't, then
we're fucked.
Things are even more fucked than we thought.
Then I expect a tentative season.
I agree. Yeah.
Vasili, you got anything coming out? Anything you're working on?
I'll have an article most likely at this week, probably week's end. I might do another draft profile type of article. So we'll go into maybe potential pick the Flyers could make. Maybe as a preview, it could be Lecker-Mackey, could be, Cutter Gautier. We'll see how
maybe
it goes.
do Gautier, see what everybody likes about him.
Yeah, I'm kind of interested, so maybe.
I like it. Cool. All right. Yeah, thank you everybody again for listening. Thank you again to our sponsor, Jim Steaks on 4th and South. Please get yourself a cheesesteak because they are fans of our podcast and they are fans of the Flyers after all of this time. And I hope you remain. Please, Chuck Fletcher, don't fuck this up.
It's the best way to end the pod.
That's all I gotta say. I'm just so praying that this. God, I hope we walk away with Logan Cooley somehow, and I can at least be like, oh well, here's my personal positive. And then watch, he's the worst player of them. He is the bust. I'm praying for. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm so worried about. Is I'm gonna pray for this guy, and then the other 4 dudes are gonna be better. I'm gonna be like, all right,
amazing.
Fuck it. What the hell do I know?
To be honest, if that happened, that would really suck. But it'd kind of be pretty hilarious.
Yeah, Logan Cooley's the only one who's not good.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't think I'm wrong about him. But anyway, I digress. Thank you again, everybody, for listening. Like, subscribe, share. Please leave a comment. Please leave us a review as well. If you can go on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, whatever you listen to, please review us.
We're checking it out, and we'll read them out too.
It's also helpful. We get recommended that way if we have reviews. So I don't usually ask for that stuff, but it's super helpful if you don't have time. I mean, it'd be cool. All right. Thank you, everybody, again for listening. We love you. Can't wait for the draft. I'm so fucking excited. We have some cool episodes coming up. The next 3 episodes should be pretty good. Looking forward to it. All right. Vasili, talk to you later. To everybody else, remember, stay great.